Hey everybody, how you doing? Just wanted to touch base real quick about what's going on in the Donbass. I know I made a video earlier kind of commenting on the general situation from sort of a bird's eye view. We got some new reporting in and I wanted to share that with you just to give you a better idea of what's going on. Now, when I said that Russia basically was just raising this entire area of Ukraine, I was being serious. They are totally flattening it, and some BBC reporting has come in. I just thought I would share it with you. So that's like phosphorus munitions, or maybe they're lighting it up. I don't know. Let's just skip that. Except it says 1,000 to 1,500 strikes a day. Okay, so a lot of artillery rounds being fired by Russia. This is Rubizny, which used to have 55,000 people, so it wasn't insignificant. It's a pretty large town. It's been totally razed, right? And most of the cities in its vicinity are starting to or already look like this. So this is one small picture of the bigger picture, right? So it's bad. Next. Should be able to see the cloud in a second. Yeah, so that bright orange cloud, that's all toxic gas that's been that's something in Ukrainian, but so that's all been released into the air. So you can see all that toxic gas going into the air that was struck intentionally by Russia. This is like the 50th time they've done this. So yeah, Russians struck the town's chemical plant. Service members were left struggling to breathe with blood pouring from their mouths and nose. So they're not using chemical weapons, but like, it's Russia. They're finding a way to use chemical-ish weapons. Yeah. So, I mean, that's in the middle of a city. Sorry. So that's in the middle of a city. You can kind of listen to what's going on here. So quite bad. This isn't a campaign of attrition, it's a war of oblivion. When I asked about Russian tactics, well, there are a lot of them. There's a lot of artillery. Bombardments are like a nightmare. We shoot one round, they shoot 10. So we just need to make sure we keep what we've sent is great, right? And we're doing a lot to help. We just need so much more of it. It's almost unbelievable. Like I think we sent like 150,000 shells. I'm not a military expert, but anybody in the military who wants to comment on the video, please do. I think in this kind of war, 150,000 shells might last you like 2 weeks maximum, right? If you're trying to save, I think. So let's just be realistic about the magnitude of if you want to help, if you want our country to help, let's just be realistic about the numbers, right? So how much will we need? There's old shitty Russian equipment. This I found interesting. So when our sniper is shooting, they send a full packet of grads, which are these long range to medium range rocket systems. So it's basically a sniper with one bullet, and they send like $1,000 artillery rounds just for the sniper. So they really don't care about how much ammunition they use, right? So, and this is a guy providing some covering fire, but I mean, it doesn't, I'm not sure how much it's doing right now. I mean, it's not that he's probably doing a great job, but I mean, it's just, with what he's having to defend, being completely destroyed all around him. Now let's start thinking about like, if Ukraine needs to rebuild and the world needs to start donating, I mean, how much more of this are we going to let Putin do, right? So how many more billions of dollars are we going to let be put onto the tab before we have to start rebuilding this place? Okay. The Russians have a lot of manpower, same with ammunition, and all they do is come, die, retreat, and start shelling from their artillery. They treat their soldiers as meat, not as living human beings. That's it. They kind of did that in the Soviet Union too. But obviously, like, it was kind of a defensive war, so totally different scenario there. Yeah, you can see some dead soldiers here in this completely destroyed town. So I think yeah, the Ukrainian soldiers are really good and everything, but I think it's kind of washing out another narrative here, which is Eastern Ukraine is getting blown to shit. Absolutely. Civilians, soldiers, doesn't matter. I mean, everything in its area is being completely obliterated, right? This is Russia's like revenge for being stymied in Kiev. being embarrassed on the global scale, right? So all these people who are like nice people, like a lot of farmers, a lot of people that just kind of focus on their family and don't really bother anybody, they're being completely obliterated. No, they don't have money to rebuild their lives after this. No, they don't have the resources to, I mean, what little they have is totally gone, right? So, so the humanitarian crisis aside, militarily, this is not sustainable, right? It's not sustainable. I mean, they can stall this. They can make it slower. They can make it more painful for the Russians to take this area. But I think Russia's been pretty clear that that's what they're willing to do. They're willing to, they treat their soldiers as meat, not as living human beings. Okay, so not really an issue for them. So maybe time to start thinking about sanctions getting even tighter so that they can't fund this war machine, right? Because that $1 billion a day from oil is going into these rounds, which are blowing people's faces off, right? So something to consider. And then on a positive note, so there's a burning chemical plant, but the guardsmen and women I spoke to have suffered greatly, but they are back on the front lines and they refuse to submit. The only question is time, the time, and that's it. Everything will be Ukraine. Okay, I totally agree with the spirit there. But if we don't really make drastic, even more drastic signals of support, whether it be much larger shipments of munitions, maybe opening up the Black Sea with some force, perhaps, I don't know. Everything won't be Ukraine. A lot won't be Ukraine, right? And what won't be Ukraine will be totally destroyed. And maybe some things that are still Ukraine will be totally destroyed. And a lot of people are going to die. I mean, this is just, I think people in the US are focusing on how great, our training must have been and how good the Ukrainians are doing. Which, I mean, sure, that's great. But the scale of catastrophe right now in the Donbass is unimaginable. I mean, really, it's wicked. So, so yeah, that's my update. Just to make sure everybody's clear on what is going on. Okay, Slava Ukraine, and have a good night.